On today's program, the Koreans of Kazakhstan, Almaty's Korean theater, food and fun in a Korean village. Salam, Privyet, and hello. I'm Dennis Keene, and today on Discovering Kazakhstan, we will be discovering the world of Kazakhstan's Koreans. Kazakhstan is one of the most diverse countries in the world with more than 100 ethnic groups, and some of them are quite unexpected. After all, we are quite far from the Koreans' ancestral motherland, but over generations, the Koreans have made Kazakhstan home while maintaining their unique traditions. Come along as we explore this fascinating community of Koreans in Kazakhstan. Koreans first arrived to Kazakhstan in the 1920s as rice specialists, but they arrived en masse in 1937. When Stalin exiled them to Central Asia from the far east of Russia, fearing that they couldn't be trusted to be loyal to Soviet power. Despite their tragic history of displacement, the Koryo Saram, as Kazakhstan's Koreans call themselves, have been remarkably resilient, preserving their culture, food, and language through the decades. We first met up with the local Koryo Saram in the city of Almaty, where more Koreans can be found than anywhere else in Kazakhstan. The plaster bas-relief ornament over the entrance of this beautiful Stalinist building on Bogan-Baybatur Street in Almaty shows a violin and the Kazakh instrument dombra. But nowadays, inside these walls, you're more likely to hear Korean drums or see a Korean ballet. For this is the new home of Almaty's Korean theater. The theater has long been the center of the Korean community in Kazakhstan. And so it is here that we will dive into the art and culture of the Koryo Saram community. We were greeted at the theater by one of its most famous personalities, the theatrical director Oleg Lee. At the theater's small museum, he told us about the fascinating history of this theater.
Театр организован в 1932 году во Владивостоке. И он является старейшим в мире профессиональным национальным театром.
The theatre was founded in 1932 in Vladivostok, and it is the oldest professional national theatre in the world. Even in Korea, it was founded in 1950, and Kim Ten, who received the title People's Artist of the Kazakh SSR, participated at the opening ceremony. The repertoire includes theatrical performances, musical theatre, plays, dramas, everything from Shakespeare to Lorca to national theatre. Our audience is diverse, with Koreans, Russians, Kazakhs, and Germans.
В этом отношении зритель у нас не только кореец. Зрители у нас и русские, и казахи, и немцы. Как они нас понимают?
We have simultaneous translations. We perform in Korean, but there's a simultaneous translation into Russian. Everyone in the audience understands Russian.
В общем, все понимаете. И я могу сказать, что гастроли...
We tour not just in Kazakhstan, not only in the CIS, but also abroad in Korea, Germany, and even England. Everywhere, of course, we get rave reviews from the audience, and for our actors, that's priceless.
И везде, конечно, восторженные отзывы зрителей, они для актера, дороже денег.
볼 필요가 있겠어?
Oleg took me to the main stage to sit in on some rehearsals for a play he's working on about Hon Bom-do, a general who launched the Korean liberation movement against Japanese invaders before being deported in 1937 to Kazakhstan. This national hero ended up in Kizilorda, where the Korean theater was at that time, working there as a humble watchman. The playwrights and actors who worked with him dedicated a play in his honor way back in 1942.
당신이 참 그네를 겪었어. 그 나라는 혼범들을 반드시 잡아 처벌을 해야 하고.
저는 전부터 가지고 있던 마음을 변치 않았습니다.
목숨을 걸고 나선 사람입니다. 대장님.
I find this absolutely entrancing. They call this Korean ballet, and I can see why, because it combines that sensuality of classic ballet with that gentle movements of Asian dance. And there's this calm energy in the air in this room as they're doing these practice movements. They're saying that actually this is not the ballet itself, but this is kind of a warm-up for them to get used to moving their bodies in a certain way. And it's absolutely fascinating to watch how they carry themselves with such gentle grace. Meanwhile, the theater stage had freed up, so I headed back in just in time to catch a performance from an ensemble called Samulnori, named after the traditional Korean drums that they were playing. The songs they played with their intricate rhythms and intoxicating chanting were amazing. Wow, a big bravo to the Samulnori ensemble here. Did that get your heart beating fast or what? I mean, such speed, such precision, such coordination, especially watching these two drummers here in the middle play in total synchrony, as if they're puppets being pulled by the same strings. Then over here, you guys have playing the cymbals in counterpoint. It's a thrilling musical act to watch. I've never seen anything like it. More shocking is that there is a village a few hours away called Ushtobe with just around 25,000 souls, and it's a major center of Korean culture. For this is where an especially large amount of Koreans were sent during the 1937 deportation. Generations later, they are still proudly showing off their traditions, and we drove up from Almaty to get a taste. We've come to a center of Korean culture in the village of Ushtobe to meet a very special group, a group of elders called Uri Noyin that is headed by Yuri Petrovich Pak. Hello.
Здравствуйте. Вот это наше общество.
This is our community group. Women from our group have prepared some dances and songs for you. This group is already 18 years old. Not very old and not very young, but our future is promising. Please enjoy our songs and dances.
Просим вас послушать нашу песню и увидеть наши танцы, которые женщины наши приготовили.
Wearing brightly colored hanboks, the Korean traditional dress, our dazzling dancers performed buchechum, a form of Korean dance incorporating beautiful colored fans. We were invited to Ushtube and treated to these beautiful songs and dances by a United Methodist Church here that is actually the center of the Korean community. And you can imagine how surprised I was when we arrived at the Methodist Church and I met Pastor Howard, who is actually from Los Angeles, just like me, not too far away from where I grew up. But Howard has been coming here for several years now to help build this church here. And Howard, I have to imagine how strange it was the first time you came to Kazakhstan. How did you feel?
When I was first time that I looked for the almost the same face.
Yeah.
But we don't have any communication because we're using different language. And a couple days I learned a little bit, and we hug each other. You know,
right.
Understand? So that's why I like these people and my own brother and sister.
I was surprised when I had Korean food for the first time because we have a dish like this, which is actually a kind of seaweed, which obviously very popular in Korea, right? But you don't have seaweed growing in Kazakhstan. We're in a landlocked country. There aren't any seas. So as far as I know, they bring this from Korea or from China. But then there's also some food, like, do you have this kind of dish in Korea?
No.
Or in California?
Yeah. No, nothing.
No. So how did you feel the first time they gave this to you and they said, this is our Korean salad?
Yeah, but this one, I'm first time here, they have potato.
Yeah.
Another one is carrot.
Yeah. Right, the classic Korean carrot salad.
How could they make it those kind of food? When I taste, it's not better.
Yeah.
Better than any other food.
Maybe you need to bring it back to California.
Yeah, so I try to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because I learn how to make it.
Yeah.
So when I go America, then I make it. Then share everybody.
Yeah. It's really interesting to compare because I think most people in the world, when they think of Koreans, they think of Koreans in South Korea or North Korea on the Korean peninsula. But the fact that we're here in Ushtube in Kazakhstan, eating Kazakh food, sitting with such a lovely Korean community, with the gentleman Howard from the Korean community in Los Angeles, you guys are all over the world. Yeah. And I think wherever you go, you can find Koreans. And wherever you go, you find the same kindness and hospitality and love for their traditions. So I think I really respect you guys for that.
Thank you so much.
Ushtube in the Kazakh language means 3 hills, named after 3 big hills near their village. And Venera, one of our hosts, took us out to one of them, Bostube, from where we got a stunning view over the valley of the river Karatal. When Koreans were settled, they transformed this whole area into a major source of rice in Kazakhstan. Now, things were different. So if we stood here 50 years ago, would this have looked any differently?
50 years ago? How old was I then? 23 years old. Everything was different then.
In what way?
There was rice growing in the fields, now there's only grass.
So all around here there was rice.
Life was in full swing here. 20 years ago life was in full swing here. Then there was the collapse and there was perestroika. Before perestroika, of course, life was in full swing. We felt then that we were going somewhere. There was a factory here with 2,000 workers. We had the first yurt factory in Kazakhstan.
That's interesting that there was a yurt factory. Did Koreans work there?
It was mostly Russian specialists that worked there.
What I like about this place is that all different kinds of people lived here, from Kazakhs to Russians and Koreans, and everybody lived peacefully.
You know, Howard lives here with us, and he says that there are no real national divides in Kazakhstan. He had been to a lot of places, and Kazakhstan really is a special place.
At the base of Bostobe is a special monument known to all Ush-Tobe Koreans, and Venera took me there to have a look.
We are standing near a monument. When the Koreans were resettled in Kazakhstan, the Kazakhs took them in and helped them a lot. And this monument was erected in gratitude to the Kazakh people. You know, at the beginning they wanted to put a monument at the train station or in the square. Then they decided to put it here, because from this mountain you can see our entire region.
And it also says here that here there was a dugout, so Koreans lived here.
Here there are some remains of old dugouts. This is all in gratitude to the Kazakh people.
And they built a yurt here, like our common home. Kazakhs and Koreans living peacefully together. And here there's this interesting stone. Something is written here in Korean.
The inscription from Korean was also translated into Russian.
But I like that here you can see it in 3 languages actually. We have one that's in Korean. Here in the middle it says Kazakh Halkana Mung Algis in Kazakh. Over here we have it in Russian. And everything is under this one common yurt. And I think it reflects the kind of beautiful reality of Kazakhstan, which is that it's pretty harmonious, is that we have these 3 ethnic groups that were living mostly in this region and lived in peace. And I can see why Koreans actually were quite grateful to Kazakh people for taking them in. Because when Koreans first came here, there wasn't even anything around, right?
When Koreans moved here, there was nothing. That's why the Koreans were brought here. And remember, in the Far East, they also settled near the mountains.
And you said that here you can actually find some remainders of those dugouts.
These are some remains of the dugout in which the Koreans spent the winter, because they arrived in 1937 here in the late autumn. They wintered here and then it went further.
Yeah, let's go have a look what's left over there. It's hard for me to imagine how people lived under the ground.
They dug a hole and there was something like a staircase. They made a stove that's called an ondol in Korean. It's a stove that they heated, and the chimney from the stove was on the ground, under the floor. This system kept them warm, and then they covered the top with reeds, so that it was something like a roof.
Just with reeds.
They covered the top with soil, and then when it rained, the earth would crumble. They would lay and see the open spot, but it was dark inside.
Though it is a little romantic to lay back and watch the sky.
That's how they lived in the steppe.
As Venera mentioned, there was a village nearby, Yeskelde, that old-timers still call Dalny Vostok, or the Far East, in nostalgic memory of their long-ago home. There it said that Koreans know their traditions especially well, so we headed over and were invited into a family home. The first thing that caught my eye was just how huge the yard was, with every kind of vegetable imaginable: corn, carrots, cabbage, Napa cabbage, bell peppers, chili peppers. Koreans are known for being hardy farmers, and here was the proof. You have everything here you could ever need for the kitchen. I bet you guys don't even go to the supermarket.
In the summer, you don't have to go anywhere and you can save your money.
I have to say that's something that we could probably learn from the Koreans, is that, living in this kind of consumerist society in California, we go to the supermarket for everything. I've never even had my own garden. But the fact that they have here, they have every kind of food they could ever want. I mean, that is really a mark of sustainability, of, I think, eco-friendliness. So big thumbs up to the Korean people for having these kind of beautiful gardens here. So interesting. What is this exactly?
This is soy. We make soybean pasta and soy sauce from it.
I can't even imagine how this becomes sauce.
Становится соусом. Соусом как становится. Вот этот вот берут бобы, соевые бобы, его варят.
They take soybeans, then boil them, pass them through a meat grinder. It turns out like clay, such a homogeneous mass, and they make patties out of it.
Однородное. Его из этого лепят, вот эти вот колобки.
Да.
Then it dries, but inside it stays little damp. It ferments inside, some kind of fermentation, and the most unique thing is inside, like penicillin.
И вот его, когда все закроешь, оно там бы как бы забродит. Какая-то ферментация получается. И вот это вот самое ценное, что там внутри. Ну, обычно тут говорят, это там пенициллин образуется.
Да, it's like medicine.
Да, грибки пенициллина. Потом этот ложат как бы в воду, погружают.
Then penicillin fungus grows. We put this patty in salt water and it swells. The black mass sediments inside, and this black juice is extracted from this patty, and then this juice is boiled for a long time. It creates a high concentration, and soy sauce turns out.
Сок, да, извлекает и кипятят долго. Этот кипятят, концентрация высокая, и это и есть соевый соус.
What a long process, but still Koreans actually go through with it.
Это то, что мы сейчас делаем.
We make this sauce as we did in the old days. Somewhere there is production where they do it differently. We do it this way.
А у нас пока это так делается.
Actually, yeah, it smells pretty good. Can you eat it? What's it called?
Это, колобки, это, меди.
Меди.
Ага, меди.
Cool. It's crazy because soy sauce is something that's used all around the world now. I use soy sauce in my own cooking, but I would never, ever, ever would have imagined that it came from these little patties drying out here in the sun. It's quite a laborious process, but I would imagine to have this kind of homemade soy sauce is like really a treasure. Growing up in the United States, I got very used to always trying different kinds of food. One day you can have Mexican food, the other day you can have Chinese food. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really like living in Kazakhstan, is that there are so many cultures here, so many cuisines. And so you can very easily actually find where I live in Almaty, Korean restaurants. And I often go out and I try Korean food, but there are some dishes that we've seen here in Ustobe that actually I've never seen in a Korean restaurant even. So I'm curious about this. Now this dish, this soup, this is the first time I've ever seen this.
In Korean we call this soup tadakugi. We knead the dough and we take little pieces. That's why we also call it javatike. Tear small pieces of dough. We cook it very often.
Рванки.
Рванки.
Вот это деревья часто мы кушаем.
And then what kind of meat do they use?
Это мясо
I think it's pork, and then we put everything that we have on the table. Everything is from our garden.
And what do we have here?
Вот это вот.
It's a lecho. Inside we have pepper, carrot, and tomato juice.
Болгарский перец, морковь. И на томатном соку.
It's like the Russian dish, golubtsi.
Голубцы, ага.
Golubtsi with vegetables.
Голубцы.
Is it spicy?
Нет.
We only eat spicy food.
Well, I love spicy food. I would try it. But this is very good, actually. It's to me, it's very much this kind of comfort food. It's almost like a kind of noodle soup that we have back in America whenever we're sick. Very kind of soft noodles that go down easy with some tasty pork. and a nice kind of meaty broth there. I can imagine when it gets really cold out here in Ushtobe, in the middle of the Kazakh steppe, to have a bowl of this is heaven. I love that soup that we had for lunch so much that I asked the chef Arlona to show me how it's made. And turns out it's actually quite simple. We're out here in their kind of summer kitchen here on the patio. They have this big, beautiful kazan, this large kind of wok out here. It's filled with water where we've already put potatoes and onions and scallions. And check it out. So she has this big kind of round ball of dough, and she's just pinching it off and throwing it in there. So this is kind of the easiest possible way to make pasta. You don't have to roll it out, you don't have to cut it, you just kind of pinch it out and throw it in. Maybe I'll see if I can actually... Можно я попробую тоже? No? All right. So now I have my own ball. So I'll show you, just kind of pinch it off like that. It's quite sticky and stretchy. And we just throw it right in there. Now I like this actually because it comes out being this very thick, chewy kind of dough that's fun to eat. But it's striking to hear actually that this is something that they really survived off of. Oops. Don't want it to stick to the side. Because it's such a simple food actually, just made from flour. But it's something that's quite filling. And all you need is some water and some of these noodles. And then you get this classic Korean soup. Do Koreans here ever dream about returning back to their ancestral homeland, or is Kazakhstan already your motherland?
Kazakhstan is our motherland. Our kids live here, even if we moved here when we were kids. But we live here already. We don't even imagine how they live in Korea. We don't understand. It's our homeland. We got used to this country.
Yeah, I understand. It's become my motherland too.
행복이 고개를 넘어간다. 보려라, 씨를 활활 보려라. 땅에 젖은 자하고 와싹와싹 자라나게. 이거 두 절밖에 모르고 있다.
Wow. She's got some lungs on her head. Красивый голос у вас. Сильный, крепкий. So they were saying that actually this is a song that's specifically for harvesting rice. So imagine they're out in the fields, they're planting the rice. They need something to kind of distract themselves with. So they sing these songs. And you can feel, right, this kind of... Yeah. So but before they used a tractor, and now they do it, they used to all do it by hands. And you can feel that kind of solidarity as they're singing this together. What a beautiful song. Спасибо. See why this song Arirang has become so popular from Korea to Ushtobe all the way here to Dolny Vostok. Everywhere you hear it, it has this powerful passion. It's something that I think brings the Korean people together. And it's brought all of us here together today, and we're glad that you've joined us too on this Korean adventure of ours. Thank you for joining us on Discovering Kazakhstan. Until next time, Sobol, Baka, and goodbye.